want to open up the show with a tweet from a friend of the show. His goes by the name of King Abs, and it's at King Abs TV. Now, if you don't know who this gentleman is, he is Mr. Gears himself. He is a YouTube partner. He has over 50,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel, and he's a Gears of War content creator. Obviously, I've been going back and forth with him in DMs for years. Well, he put out a tweet yesterday that really got me excited. Now, folks, look, let me just lay this down for some context. So walk with me on this. You heard Jamie say that as Gears of War fans, we haven't had much to play in a while. Now, that's because, the Coalition has been cooking, right? Now, the last game that we got a chance was the DLC that was a bit of a prequel, and it was amazing. And Gears of War 5, one of my favorite in the series. Now, obviously, 1, 2, and 3 hold a special place in everyone's heart, but out of the two after 1, 2, and 3, 4 was good. The kids were a bit annoying, but it was a good game. 5 was incredible for a whole bunch of reasons. But what I want to bring into and why I want you to walk with me on this is because I honestly believe, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going to receive Gears of War Overload this June. I mean, look, the Gears of War E-Day was released last year. You obviously, we covered it here on the channel. We were ass in seat. We saw it live happening. And I don't think I could actually replicate into words the explosion of excitement that happened with everyone that was there. I mean, everyone that was there jumped out of their seats. It was, folks, I'm getting goosebumps again. I'm sorry for being such a big nerd, but that is what happened then. This June, from what we're hearing from the different people I've talked to, is expected to be even bigger. Now, this is just some speculation. I really believe that not only are we going to get Gears of War E-Day something in the form of gameplay, I really believe that is going to happen. We're going to get the Gears trilogy or the Marcus Phoenix collection or the Gears of War collection, whatever you want to, slap a tag on it. That is also happening. That's why I said we're going to get Gears Overload. But now I want to rewind back to this tweet, Jamie. Now, it comes again from King Abs, who is a Gears of War content creator. And he simply brought to our attention that both the voice actors for Dom and Coltrane dropped pictures on their timeline for Gears of War E-Day. Now, you ask why. Well, we're going to get into the why in a second, because he goes on to say finally in this tweet, and so it begins. Can't wait to hear more soon. Now, there was a person in the chat that obviously responded, and this is, again, folks, it's a bit of speculation, but it's also a bit of I'm excited for this franchise and where it's going to go and how we are going to not only go back to the past, but, potentially relive Gears 1, 2, and 3 redone from the ground up in Unreal Engine 5.3. Umbra, we're going to come to you on that in a second because I know you're excited just for the fact that it's Unreal Engine 5. Jamie,
you already know.
Absolutely. So we have here, his name is on Twitter is at EmneyC99. And he brings up a phenomenal point that would have went over my mohawk if he would have not said it. Now, he goes on to say this, Jamie. I wonder if the future game show that's happening this Thursday will have anything. Really weird timing for these guys to post this. And King Abs responds, I'm starting to think that too, but I wonder if that show is big enough to show anything major. Now, that's also a phenomenal point. Jamie, look, again, this is a bit of some speculation, some excitement. June is going to levy a lot of Gears of War just based on what we have been seeing on the socials and things that have been floating around, and some things that have not been discussed publicly, that I am privy to. And what's interesting is out of completely nowhere, two major characters, the voice actors for Dom as well as Coltrane, on their timeline at the same time decide to drop Gears of War E-Day pictures. Again, folks, it's speculation, but I'm here to talk about it nonetheless. Jamie, look, the timing is odd. We do have the Futures Game Show. We already know that the Expedition 33 is going to be there. We already know that South of Midnight is going to be there as well. Look, it may be a quote unquote smaller show, but my God, if you wanted to bring the house down, if you wanted to really start cooking with excitement for Gears of War, more specifically Gears of War E-Day, maybe you drop a trailer there. Maybe you drop an update there. Is it likely? Probably not, but still, the timing is certainly odd. Let's get your thoughts not only on the fact that we have new posts from two mainline voice actors that are going to be in the game at one point or another, and more importantly, what are you expecting in June?
I mean, the chances of two, excuse me, the chances of two Gears of War voice actors tweeting the exact same thing around about the exact same time, when everyone's waiting for news on said game that they're tweeting about, yeah, something's up. Like the odds are just ridiculous. The way I see it, people have been waiting such a long time for Gears, and we've been told the coalition is cooking. The coalition, like, they are one of the best in the industry, and the way I see it is like, look, it's going to be a weird few years ahead for Xbox, not in a bad way, but like, they have a new console coming out in 2027. They have the collection coming out. And, this new game, E-Day, which everyone is really looking forward to. And I think, I do not think this is going to be a future game show thing in any capacity. It would be cool, don't get me wrong. I'd rather see it this week than, June. The way I see it is that I think that they're going to get the voice actors and other people in media to do slight teasers and hints on Twitter and social media up until June. And like I told you last night, Boom, I 100% think that this June we're going to get in a vertical slice for gameplay and cutscene content, and as well as the trailer for the collection. I mean, that's how they've done Gears of War in the past. Gears of War 4 was announced, and then we got gameplay basically about the same time. And it blew people's minds. And then if you remember how people reacted to the alpha of the multiplayer, but like we got that the following year. So like I 100% think, we will see some vertical slice this year. And it's been a long time, The last time we had new Gears of War content that wasn't Gears Tactics was Hive Busters, which was excellent DLC.
A phenomenal. Why isn't there a sequel to that? Is what I want to know. But please continue.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I would love like a spin-off to Hive Busters. Like those characters were great. The world and having a tropical setting for Gears of War weirdly worked. So I would love to see those characters in some capacity again. But I think when it comes to Gears of War, E-Day is going to be very important because like when they announced that, they made it crystal clear, especially with the zoom out at the end towards from the city. Like they want this game to be back to roots because that first Gears of War game, it had horror elements. It was like very grimy, it was dark, it was gritty, and it was a very lived-in world. And you can tell the whole place had been at war and they'd been overrun. So like it was very like I want to say down to earth, even though it doesn't make sense, but like people want to go back to roots, back to the horror elements, back to the close up, close quarters combat. You stranded in a hallway in the dark while monsters are coming at you, basically. And like, look, with Gears 5, I liked Gears 5. I really enjoyed it. However, the open world stuff, a lot of people didn't resonate with that stuff. And I think Gears of War being set in like the daytime, 90% of the game, and it having like less grimy elements outside of gore. We just want to go back to basics, and that's what people have been wanting for a long time. And they basically said that last year, like that's what people want. And I think it's important to get back to roots because, Gears 4 was a huge step forward in what the games could look like, what they can play like. but like the story was getting a bit out there for some people. I enjoyed it,
Me too.
but like ever since Gears of War 1 came out, people have been wanting E-Day. We wanted to see what happened with E-Day since the very beginning, and we're going to get that. We've seen slight teasers in the past with cutscenes in Gears of War 3 and 5 and all that stuff. Like, we've seen this, but we want to know like how it went down, and we're going to get that. And like I said, I don't think we're going to get anything in a future game show. I would love to be wrong. Please let me be wrong. But I think we're just going to see slight teasers from different, actors and stuff until then. And plus, even if that is the case, I'm perfectly fine with it, because remember last year at their summer showcase blew everyone's mind holes, right? Like, nobody expected that show to be that good, to the point where people that hate Xbox on a daily basis were like, wow, that's possibly the best showcase ever. So, like, if they have Gears of War gameplay to show this year alongside other stuff, it's going to be a good time.
Look, the one thing that we can say, Umbra, with full authority about Xbox now, not Xbox in the past, but Xbox currently in their what we like to call their final form, right? Is they have so many games in active development. They own so many IP. They have so many studios that there's only so much that they can do for them internally, meaning like a developer direct or a June showcase or or a first party reveal, whatever. Right? They have several events per year. They got the big event in June. They usually, and I say usually, show up to Jeff's show at the end of the year with something in hand. Now, last year they didn't have anything. There were reasons for that, but this year I would expect that that's going to be a little bit different. And again, it's just an assumption. But when you start to see, Summer Game Fest or the future game shows, these events, they are watched by millions of people. And like I said, just alluding to what I said seconds ago, Xbox literally has so much in the oven. At some point, even something as pronounced and as huge as Gears could show up at this event. And again, am I saying that if that's going to happen? It's on, folks. Understand it's unlikely, but just bringing it back to what King Ab said, it is incredibly unusual that both voice actors that are expected to be in Gears of War E-Day, which of course, because it's a prequel, I would imagine we're definitely getting Dom. You saw him in the trailer, right? We know we're getting Marcus. He's in the trailer. But I think it's safe to assume, and again, we're assuming here, that Cole or Coltrane will be in the game at one point or another because he was there in the war. Now, again, it's speculation, but it is unusual to have both voice actors dropping, hints on their socials at the same time when a showcase is happening later this year. And again, we know that there are going to be Xbox games there, but we don't know if this is going to be there. So let's I want to get into that, but I also want to get into what you expect this June, because I think the cat is out of the bag, so to speak, when it comes to the Gears of War collection. We've had several people, including myself, actually speak to people that we trust that have told us that this thing not only exists, but is possibly being the one that's released this year. Remember, in the beginning of the year, we thought it was going to be E-Day first, and next year, for the 20th anniversary, the return to the Gears trilogy, but it looks like that's not, in fact, the case. We're going to get the trilogy first, according to insiders, and we know that Detective Seeds had on his side heard it that not only is it coming to PlayStation day and date, but it's already been backloaded onto PSN. Now, again, whether you like Detective Seeds or you don't, I trust the dude, and he does have sources. And guess what? I have sources too, and I was told the same thing in regards to it releasing this year. I think June is going to be huge for Gears of War. Anyone that's been waiting for a big announcement, I think that's where we get it. But you just never know. Let's get your thoughts on the future game show the two voice actors tweeting, and more importantly, Umbra, what do you expect for June?
I expect a lot. I think Microsoft has kind of set the stage. I always nowadays I often look at it and say that Xbox is the new E3. That was one of the titles I had for one of my podcast episodes, which I did such a great job with that thumbnail. I didn't get enough love for that. But anyway, that aside, scatterbrainedness aside, I look at Microsoft or Xbox rather as the new E3. So I expect now, after I think the level of reveals they've shown us these past 2 years, I look at it, and now that they've got things situated behind the scenes, I fully expect to see like a lot of game reveals, right? Even if it's a matter of third party, I'm thinking that it's going to be something special. Now, this year is going to be a little different because, and I'll just drop a bit of truth, because we know that their whole multi-platform push, we're probably going to see some games announced going over.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little bit different this year for that reason. But if I'm sticking strictly to what I expect for Xbox, well, it's a few things. Like you mentioned earlier, you said South of Midnight. Sure, you're going to see probably more gameplay of that. Well, not South of Midnight, because that's already going to be out by that point. Not South, but we'll probably see Clockwork Revolution. We'll likely have seen. I'm pretty certain that we'll see an actual gameplay reveal for E-Day there. Possibly hinting at Doom DLC as far as expansion. I would hope that we finally see some gameplay for what's the name of that game? The heist game in the car.
Contraband. Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Maybe even the Wu-Tang game. Finally, right?
Finally, yes.
So I expect things like that. That's the thing for me. I probably have to really sit down and think on it to really nail down my full thoughts. But as far as this now, you said the Futures Games show. That is that's happening as far as the GDC situation, right?
Yes. Yeah. That Future Game show is happening Thursday.
Yeah, fortunate for me, something I can talk about on Thursday show. I don't know specifically what to expect for that, so I'd have to really think on it. Shout out FarQ. I just saw your text there. You said Infinite Gas. It's a mission on Split Fiction where you play as a pig, and I was really gassy as the pig. I'll just say that. But anyway, I feel like the Future Game Show I couldn't really comment on. I have to look into that more and really think on it. But I'm expecting a lot of indie games to show up for that, obviously. But just getting back to, one thing I will say, which is obvious, is that we're going to get information for the handheld, obviously, likely for the third party.
It's happening
handheld
sometime this week. Again, this is just an assumption, folks. I don't have it on preferred authority, but I mean the cat's out of the bag, right? Jez broke the story last week. We know that they're in bed with Asus. I was going to say Asus, but Asus. So we know. I mean, it's GDC. Of course, they're going to show off this thing, right? It makes perfect sense. We just don't know when. And of course, whenever that happens, get ready, folks. We're going to cover it here.
Yeah, for sure. So you had Jason Ronald, for instance, speaking that he'll be there. So we're going to get information. If I had to guess for two things, and I have to keep June in mind because that's probably where we'll get more major information. But we're definitely going to get likely some information about the handheld, possibly, I would say, during this. And if not, maybe it might touch on the whole Xbox Play, like anywhere titles and things like that, and how they're going to expand on that to really bring that claim to reality with us being able to play our third party games everywhere, right? That might be the case. I'm hoping. I think does GDC start this Friday, right?
No, it started Monday. It started yesterday.
Oh,
GDC goes through Friday.
Okay, goes through Friday. Okay. So there is that. As far as E-Day now, so what was your question on E-Day?
Well, the question is, what do you expect this June? Because obviously the E-Day, listen, we saw the trailer. We know what's happening. Okay, we have a pretty confirmed authority that E-Day isn't first. E-Day is happening in 2026. This year is expected to levy the Gears of War collection, as it's being called.
Makes sense.
And obviously, again, take it with a grain of salt, take it with wherever your imagination wants to go. But King Abs brought up a great point. Why would the two voice actors that are probably going to be in this game tweeting about Gears of War E-Day at the same time on the same day? It's odd, folks. It's just odd. Now, is that kind of just trying to stoke the fires of excitement? Yeah, I guess if we were in, I don't know, May, maybe, but not in March, right?
Yeah.
And what's happening in March? Well, the future game show is happening in a couple of days. Now, granted, I do agree that the show is relatively smaller, and would you expect something this big there? But isn't that the point, though? Like, wouldn't that literally stop the presses, so to speak, if E-Day showed up there in some form or fashion?
Yeah, that would be something. Maybe, just going by that thought, maybe it could be that they're saying, hey, we've revoiced or redid voices or whatever. It may have been remastered or whatever our voices for the past Gears game for the collection, and maybe that will show up at GDC. That could be that. I could see that possibly. How do I put this? I have to be careful how I say what I say. I've heard it through the grapevine of just the interwebs that we might see something about the collection before June. So this could be that.
Yeah, it could. Now, let me, because as you were speaking, thought popped into the head, right? So GDC, folks, if you didn't know, stands for the Games Developer Conference, meaning that there are going to be devs there. Maybe, and this is, again, I'm spitballing because the thought literally just raced into my mind, Umbra. Maybe we're not going to get a quote-unquote gameplay trailer, but what if they're showing off the next version of Unreal Engine 5 using Gears E-Day as its, here you go. This is because they're currently up to 5.3 or version 5.3. What if this is an updated 5.4 version at the Game Developers Conference and they're showing off Gears of War E-Day, whether it be modeling, lighting, whatever? That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I could possibly see that. I mean, it probably won't be for public consumption if that's the case. Like you said, as soon as the developers, maybe they'll show that behind the scenes. But I think that if it's E-Day itself, I'm just going to go out on the limb and say that the gameplay for it and what we'll see will definitely be in June. It's just too major of a tentpole, release for them not to be June. That said, super excited for it. Seeing them, like you said, Lester Spite. I forgot who the other. Maybe you know the name, Jamie. The guy, the other voice actor. Was it for Beard? The guy, the other one that also posted a tweet, because one was Lester Spite, which is Cole Train. But what was the other voice actor?
Dominic Santiago.
It was Dominic. Okay, for Dom. I kind of had a feeling it was him, but I'm like, was this a Dom or? Okay, so there is possible that this could be for E-Day. Now, Baird and Cole, just to give a bit of the backstory of this, E-Day is, Emergence Day for those that don't know. Dominic and Marcus were already part of the COGs at that point.
Yes.
So they were already COGs, I think about 4 years. They were part of the COG army at that point. Now, that E-Day itself was when Baird and I believe Coltrane both joined as far as the ranks of the COGs. So there's a possibility that they'll cross, but I believe the initial story was that they didn't meet back then. So I want to see how they might change. They could change it. There's been plenty of stories that have been retconned and changed. So there is a possibility of that. And to get back to the dynamic of what we got in Gears 1 through 3, they're more than likely going to do that, right? So it makes some sense. Although they could have it where we play as a 3-player team of Marcus, Dom, and some unnamed COG, and then switch.
I mean, you're definitely playing as a Carmine at some point.
Oh yeah. We gotta have Carmine up in there. We gotta have a Carmine in there. I mean, we still actually have the missing Carmine that we never got the story for, by the way.
Yes.
So there's one missing Carmine. They never told us where he's at. He's missing in action. We still have obviously the grub killer himself, the gangster he is, of course, and that he survived it. But it was one brother, I think their oldest brother, who we never did quite see what happened to him. So it's possible that we might see him. Maybe they could do that. So that will be pretty funny. And they, of course, like John, the Black John said, that they know of Cole because of Thrash Ball. Of course, he's a football star. Well, Thrash Ball star, I guess I should say, in their universe on Planet Sarah. So my thing is this. All of this could definitely be them doing a voice work for that. I would lean to say definitely that's going to be the case. It's going to be for E-Day. I don't think we're going to see anything until June or ourselves. They might show something at GDC, to your point. I don't know if we'll get it versus the developers, and then unless we get some type of leak, which is possible, knowing Xbox.
At the end of the day, Umbro, I think it's safe to say that, like alluding to what Jamie said, I don't want to say starving, but I think that most Xbox fans are Gears of War. It has been absent in the conversation for way too long. The day you saw the excitement. Obviously, there were so many people that were in there that did videos. I did one. Asante did one. One of the more famous or infamous ones is Hargeet Chani. He has almost 90,000 views on his version of the announcement, which is freaking awesome. And yeah, people are excited. I think that there is a lot to get excited about. Again, GDC is happening this week. We have a feeling that we're going to get something in regards to the partnership with Asus and Xbox later on this week. When, we don't know. There is the Future Game Show. Could that levy some Gears information? It's unlikely, but it could happen. And again, it's just for conversational piece, it is odd that two of the voice actors that are expected to reprise their role in E-Day at one point or another are tweeting about it on the same day. It's just odd. But, gentlemen,
just to highlight, by the way, though,
please,
reading up on it a little bit, we are expected to see, like they said, about like 50 upcoming AAA and AA games and indie games at this future games show. So we'll likely see a lot of things there, including like updates to things like Expedition 33 stuff. Like we'll probably see stuff like that there as well. So it might be maybe even like South of Midnight that possibly might show up there for the future game show. So there's going to be like a bunch of things that we definitely might want to be hip to pay attention to.